Well, Ontario Knife Company has a real special place in my heart because they were really some of the first better quality American-made knives I ever tested, used, and reviewed and began to use in my daily living here on the channel and here in my life. Stuff like the SK5, man, I remember that tool. You know, the Rat Model 7, the TAK-1. And today we're gonna take a look at new for really 2021, but it just recently has become available here in early 2022 through most distributors, is the TAK-2. Now it's a take on the original TAK-1, but more of a woods focus. And we really have a lot to look at today, because not only are we looking at different sheathing options than what Ontario's kind of known for with nylon, we're gonna discuss steel choices, we're gonna discuss quality control, fit and finish, those type of things, and really put it up against a lot of competitive options and see where this might fit in, or if there's just too much competition for a knife of this size, a knife of this design. So that's what we're going to look at today as we take a look at the TAK-2 from Ontario Knife Company. So we're going to dive in here to the blade, but you can just see, I mean, it's a cool, got that very iconic profile of, you know, like a survival knife. You see that and you're like, yep, I could go out in the woods and survive with that thing. So that's really where the vein is. Right out of the gate, we can see kind of a wider blade than on the original TAK-1. The TAK-1 was kind of narrower, definitely more of, you know, like a deployment tool. And I do know of people who took that as their deployment knife in Afghanistan and Iraq in the last few decades. So, you know, this one is more wide-bellied, leaf-shaped, a little bit more like the Rat 5, something like that. Full flat grind. From handle to tip, you're 4.5 inches, and then your cutting edge is 4.3 with a thickness, full tang all the way through, of 0.19. So very thick on that full flat grind. Pretty good edge geometry. I mean, it totally did the job, able to carve, able to whittle, you know, make feather sticks, go through cordage. 90-degree spine. It does have a black phosphate finish on it, which it wears right away. I mean, you can see how much that's wearing, but I love it. I mean, it definitely gives it like a Mandalorian armor, you know, look to it. Beat up and used, and you know it's been through hell and back. And so I don't mind that at all. Fights against the rust, and still able to throw 90-degree able to throw sparks because of how sharp that spine is. So all good there. You know, the full flat grind is going to make it easier than, say, a saber to like do food prep around a campsite, those type of things. So that is a benefit to a full flat grind. Now, this is where things start to kind of, this is going to really either start or stop a lot of people. And it's that Ontario Knife Company actually went down into the forums and read a bunch. And from what all my understanding is, they have basically swapped everything over that is not being issued to the US military to 1075 steel over their 1095 or 5160. So that is my understanding. Obviously, leave comments below if you know different. That is from everything that I've dug down and buried and, you know, figured out. Now, 1075 steel in a large tool, like a lot of Ontario's big SP line, like the Raider, the SP8, even the TAK-2, you know, those blades, you can get that. You know, if it's heat treated well, the 1075 is very, very tough. It's going to flex a little bit more. It's not as brittle as 1095, so it's going to be able to give. It's better for shock resistance, all of those things. So those are all the positives of 1075. Edge retention is an issue. 1075, from every 1075 I've ever used, it's just, it dulls. I mean, 1095 is nothing to write home about compared to a lot of the super steels now that we see. But 1075, it's just, you have to sharpen it quite a bit. Now you can get razor edges on it, which is great, very quickly. So in the field, it would be very easy for you to keep, you know, sharpening it and get that, you know, shaving, hair popping sharp edge, no problem. But it's just, for this size of tool, and I get that they're trying to like go across the line, and, you know, like there's probably a cost aspect to it. 1075 is probably a little bit cheaper to get their hands on and you work with and do than 1095, you know. This tool doesn't need 1075, and I wish it had 1095 or something else, you know. 1075, and again, those bigger tools, I can see 1095 would have been great just to keep, or even 5160, you know, those type of things. So this thing is gonna be bomb-proof, tough as nails. I haven't seen any bending and staying in place, you know, like it's been snapping back into place when I just thrash on it, and I did. I mean, I was whacking on this thing that some other knives would not have been able to handle, but in this size range. But there's just a cost analysis part that we're going to get to with competitive options in a moment, as well as just edge retention that you just have to be prepared for if you're going to go down this line, you know, and going to go with this tool. The 0.19 is unneeded, you know, for this tool. If it was, you know, 0.16, that would have been perfect, particularly with the 1075. I mean, it's not going to snap on us, you know, so it's like make it a little thinner so it's actually an even better slicer and food prepper and, you know, carver and whittler, because that adds to the weight. This thing comes in at almost 10 ounces, so it's a beefy tool, but we're only working with 4.3 inches, you know, so you're not going to span a lot of wood to baton. When you do, you can absolutely baton. If you want to split, you want to notch. You're not going to chop with it. It's too tiny for that. You can delimb some stuff about as big as your thumb, but that's about it. So it's this compact belt knife in size, but it's kind of almost pushing a survival knife weight and thickness that it is kind of overbuilt and overkill and not necessary for the style of tool that it is. Now for this handle. Now this is a stabilized hardwood, so it is very slick. It's not micarta. I would prefer micarta over wood when possible, just because it gives you more texture, and I love the kind of heavy texture, kind of unfinished roughness of Ontario's micarta scales. So that would have been my preference. The wood, it looks cool, absolutely, and I think they're trying to go more in some of their designs this year, you know, in like a more old school feel. So it definitely has that old school feel. It's totally flat on the sides, rounded, you know, on the angles. So it's got that blocky feel that we know from Ontario with all their other models. So, you know, the ergonomics are okay. A full contoured handle is always better, particularly for like a compact woodscraft knife. It fills out the hand very nicely. There aren't any hot spots. It doesn't create any undue discomfort. Doesn't have any jimping. Doesn't need it. Plenty of real estate left over. Good lanyard hole right there. So if you do need to do some of those little light flicks, you know, to delimb a branch or something, you can get that done. You can do it totally. Now, it's not a choil, it's a resharpening ricasso basically. The TAK-1 had that as well, and so it's not big enough for my finger to get in, so you can either continue that out and give yourself a dedicated choil. I would have preferred to just have the edge right there and then just giving you that little bit of a blank spot for resharpening. So it stays in vein with the original TAK, but it doesn't really do anything for me, and it takes the edge probably almost a full inch away from my hand where I'm controlling it, so it actually limits a little bit of control with the tool. Now, this is where I'm going to try and be kind, but I'm just going to be real at the same time, guys. That's why you come over here, right? So Ontario's quality control and like fit and finish has always kind of been like the difference between me and Mrs. GT making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. She's very precise, precision, lines everything up, lines up the bread, you know, makes it presentable and, you know, good that you could serve to like a guest. And they're like, cool. I'm not quite that way. My sandwich is gonna be slightly cockeyed. There might be a couple little drips hanging off, you know. I'm like, yeah, hey, I gave you double the peanut butter, you know, so you're gonna enjoy that thing. But the presentation isn't always there when I make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's kind of with Ontario. You know, the handle scales, there's little lips, you know, in that regard. But there's another bigger issue, is that there were 3 burrs on this tool, and I still have one actually that almost drew blood, and they are on the screws and on the Torx, but also it was on the back spine. I had to file 2 of them off, and I missed one. I didn't realize it, and I just discovered this when we were shooting this right here. I don't know how well you guys are gonna be able to see that, but there's a burr right there that if I really like on my hand, I would draw blood because of that little burr. So that's got to go back and get sanded again with my Leatherman. And I have a loose screw that keeps getting loose, so I'm gonna have to Loctite that thing. So there's that. I was just like, seriously, I don't like any of that. Now I got to babysit this thing on top of the fact that it's still got, you know, not the handle scales are not fully lined up perfectly. That's kind of Ontario MO, that they're close, but you know, there's just that little lip that you feel. And so you're not getting what you would get with obviously paying more money, but with other, you know, designs that are out there. So you can machine that yourself, obviously, do that type of stuff. I think that with handles, this would actually be a great knife to maybe, if you want to get into manufacturing or making your own handles, maybe buy this and then start doing your own stuff just to practice or make your own, you know, would be kind of cool and fun. So that's something to take into consideration as well. But handle is okay in the sense of ergonomics, but still that old school clunky, zero traction, and the quality control I definitely saw some issues with. Now, I will take this sheath any day over the old nylon button kind of snap versions that Ontario is known for. Now, those aren't bad. I've seen worse tops knives, but I would prefer leather or Kydex if there is a choice between like nylon, leather, Kydex. It goes nylon is the worst, then leather usually, unless it's like really made for that, and then, you know, Kydex. So this is a black leather sheath, pretty basic, nothing to write home about in the sense that it has an embossed logo there. You got one seam of stitching. You do have a large drainage hole, so that's a benefit. You got this little flap there to kind of just protect the handle up against your body. The belt loop is going to be about 2 inches, so you can easily get larger belts through there. Again, one seam of stitching. If this was like a double stitch, that would show just a little bit, you know, higher quality there, and it is a pretty high ride. I mean, that you're going to get, I don't know, 2.5 to 3 inches up into your ribs kind of. So I prefer lower. Like if this was sewn more like here, then I would have liked that more, just because it would have rode a little bit lower. And then it does have a button snap, boom. And then you remove that, and it does have a little plastic insert in there. So, I mean, it's a basic leather sheath. I mean, that's what you're gonna get. So it'll hold up for a while. So now, depending on price, you know, this may be something worth investing in. You know, you have a Mora, and then you have this guy, you know, and the Mora does the light, really fine precision stuff, and you have this guy as kind of that backup, robust beater that you can just thrash on, right? Well, this guy comes in on average between 85 and 90 bucks is what I'm seeing. I haven't been able to find it for less than like $84.99, and that was kind of on some really obscure site, and it's usually $89.99 from what I can pick up and what I can see so far in early 2022. Crazy that we're in that year. This is a $90 knife. Well, I'm going to show you how I feel about that. Now, throughout this video, I will have a bunch of links for you guys. And Ontario did send this over to me to test out, review, and that's why I'm always honest with you guys, giving you my feedback, giving you my honesty, and hopefully helping you out, giving good feedback to the company so that they can make wise choices as well in future designs, and maybe, you know, step up quality control, different things like that. And so we will have links for you guys below. If the TAK-2 or these other options I'm about to run in, it makes sense for you, I do appreciate when you use those hyperlinks. And now, so this first one I got to show you. I got this by Santi, I believe is how you say it, by Condor. I paid on Amazon $65 for it. Made in El Salvador, 1095 steel, yo. Yep, Condor's starting to step their game up a little bit, and an excellent sheath here. Still one stitch, you know, would have liked to see double, but you got this drop leg, you got a fire steel loop, you know, just a little bit more dense. The leather seems to be a little bit thicker than on the Ontario. And again, like I said, 65 to like 70 bucks on average. So excellent sheath option there. We have a Scandi grind. They got the kind of natural hammer points on there. 0.1, I think it's 2, so 1/8 of an inch. Just so you can see here. I mean, you can see the tack is definitely thicker. So this just makes for a thinner, more precise tool. Now, the handles are pinned in versus Torx screws. So I would have preferred Torx. I mean, they don't look as nice. Look at that white liners with red pop in there. And I can't find a bad lip anywhere on this Condor. And the only issue I see is maybe you can see there on this side right there, it's a little bit of marring where they didn't like finish the wood. And then over here it finishes a little bit better. So that's like the only part of the tool basically. The grind is good, like all that. And for less than what the TAK-2 is with 1095, again, so I'm gonna get better edge retention out of this than on the 1075. So I'm gonna have to resharpen it less. But at this sizing, and it's got about, I think about a 5-inch cutting edge. So you can see that you're gonna get a little bit more real estate to work with, and you know, fully contoured handles. So I mean, that's going to cost me less and probably get done more on almost every level. Here's a heavy hitter, the BK18 1095 Crovan steel. Big wide blade. It's an 0.18, I believe, on the thickness, so it is in that same, you know, size range. I would argue the TAK-2 has a better, you know, like food prep capability, but ergonomics are, you know, much better. It will come with polymer handles that you then have to upgrade to micarta, but it does come with an excellent polymer sheath that you can swap, ambidextrous. That one's like about 85 to 90 bucks. So right in that same price range, and you can just see the quality, fit and finish, materials, you know, is there. This is to me a $90 knife. I'm having a really hard time seeing where the Ontario is a $90 knife. Well, guys, really when it comes down to it, for me, I believe that this is basically like a $60 knife. And if this came in looking like it does with the things that I've seen, and it was about $59.99, 60 bucks, I'd say, yeah, you know what? If this is what you're looking for and you want that really tough, overbuilt, American-made tool, it's gonna do a lot for you. At the $80 to $90 price point that it's coming in at, there's just so much steep competition, and it is lackluster in some of the, you know, not only thickness, so it's really thick and compact, but it's also really kind of small, and so not quite as, you know, capable as some of the other, you know, designs we've looked at for different designing reasons. And then obviously the CQC that I've kind of talked about. There's just so much competition. It wouldn't be on, you know, my top list of blades in this size range at that price point in order to pursue. But I want to hear from you guys. What is your take on the TAK-2? Does it make sense for you? Is it exactly what you're looking for? Are you tracking with me? I always appreciate your guys' feedback, your answers, your comments. The community and relationship that we have here at Gideonstactical is amazing, and I love you guys so much. I invite you to check out the other video popping up, to subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber here. We're throwing up content like this week in, week out, showing you guys what products can do, what they can't do, and helping you make wise choices. Like, is that really the tool that I need to invest in or gift to or do whatever with, or not? And so appreciate you guys so much. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.